W5FC. When is Skynet?
I don't know.
Does Charlie know?
Always 9 p.m. Saturday on 146.88. Duh.
W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
And does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin tonight's Skynet? Okay, well, let's get started then. Skynet, let's see. This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, KE5ICX. My name is Tom. I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purposes are to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation this evening. Let's see, boy, I'm having a hard time. Boy, they changed the script up, and I can't find anything anymore. You know, you use the same script for like 10 years, and you get used to it. This weekly net operates on this frequency with a PL tone of 110.9er. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID and Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to w5fc.org right now for the complete list, and remember to tell others about this popular net. You can now check in to the net electronically by going to the club website, which I just gave you, w5fc.org. Look for tonight's announcement for Skynet and click on the hot link to check in. It's right at the top. We will acknowledge you on the air, and don't worry, if you want to check in via voice, we'll continue to do that as well, over air and for Echolink. All amateur operators are welcome, and you need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long and structured in several parts. We have general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, recent astronomical discoveries, the discussion topic of the evening, which we will discuss, was up, space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A in the 73 round. Now, depending on how long the net goes, we may not get to all parts, but all the important ones will get covered. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. And currently, we have checked in Brenda, WB5OZL, KMMCD, Cody, he's in Dallas, K5KTX, Kelly in Point, N5BB, Bill in Irving, NT5TM, Tony in Dallas, and KI5SDS, Jeff in Richardson. Thank you all for doing that. And the one Echolink, K5KTX, is Kelly so far. Everybody else is over here. Oh, and Brenda also is on Echolink. Okay, I will take short time check-ins at this point. If you have to leave the net fairly quickly, I'll take your check-ins first. Please come with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Short time.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell.
God. Neither does that one.
Kilo Oscar Bravo, K5, KOB, Los Angeles.
All right, I have K5JDW, John in Coppell. I've got K5KOB, Philip over in Wills Point. I've got you both checked in. Anyone else short time, please come now. Okay, for the two people that are checked in, or anybody who may have checked in over on electronically, if you are leaving soon, if you have a comment that you'd like to bring to the net now before you disappear into the ether, please come with your call. Okay, we'll continue. I will take general check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from. General check-ins.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz, and Bob the Cat. And Mesquite, Milky Way, etc. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo Lima, Bill, Mobile, Dallas, Texas. Kilo, Golf, 5, Uniform, Foxtrot, Romeo, Jacob, Dallas, Texas. This is Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Richard Rockwell with Lola and Izzy, the dog. Still making 18:05 p.m. Kilo Juliet 5, Charlie Golf Tango, James in Dallas. This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far northeast Dallas.
Okay, we'll stop there. Let me go ahead and get folks checked in. I've got Randy, KE5JIT. He did the electronic check-in. I got KF5JJ Chaz and Bob Bob the Cat in Mesquite. I got K5ZBL, Bill in Dallas. He's mobile. KG5UFR, Jacob in Dallas. AG5PM, Rich in Rockwell with Busy the dog, and another animal, I think. KJ5CGT, James in Dallas. AA5AH, Robert in Richardson. W5GUS, Gus in far northeast Dallas. Additional check-ins, please come out.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Foxtrot Charlie, David, Dallas.
Okay, we've got KF5PFC, that's David in Dallas. I'm going to move over to Echolink. If you're on Echolink and you would like to be checked in, you can come in on voice, or you can just chat in the chat box and say that you are here. Anyone on Echolink, please come down that is not currently checked in.
Kilo 5, Charlie, Papa Echo.
Some people do not know how to follow instructions. Oops.
November 5, Blue Monkey, Golf, Bill, in oil.
Okay, I actually got two there. I've got over air K5CPE. Could I get your name and location, please?
Yeah, for sure. Name here is Chandler, and I live in Keene, Texas. It's south of Dallas there, down 67, about an hour. Call sign Kilo 5, Charlie Papa Echo.
Well, welcome, Chandler. I got you, K5CPE. And then I've got N5LIG, Dale. He's over on Echolink. I've got you checked in as well. Okay, we have a pretty healthy a bunch of check-ins now. I'll go ahead and ask anyone else anywhere who would like to join us. Please come with your call sign, phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from, any mode.
This is
5 Papa Uniform Golf.
This is Kilo Golf 5, P. Victor Lima, James and Carrollton.
Okay, we picked up W5PUG. Could I get your name and location, please?
Yes, this is Hannah, Hotel Alpha, November Alpha Hotel in Keene, Texas, south of Dallas, W5PUG.
Second person from Keene, it's W5PUG, Hannah in Keene, Texas. Welcome, Hannah. We're glad you're here. And KG5P, I think it's PVL. You dropped out there. James and Carrollton. Did I get that right?
It's a Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima.
Oh, you'd think I would know that by now. KG5 Whiskey Victor Lima, James over in Carrollton. All right, well, we've got a pretty good bunch of check-ins here. Let me see if I can do the math. About 23 check-ins so far. It's not bad, and we did that in 12 minutes. We're getting better at this, folks. It only took like 12, 13 years to do it. Okay, let's get started. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? They can be ham, astronomical, space, or general interest to licensed hams. So please come with your call sign now, please.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Okay, Tony, you're the guy. NT5TM, go ahead.
Well, don't run away too far because I won't be the guy for long. First off, I'd like to mention that our Afterglow movie for tonight is a big budget, big studio, Hollywood spectacular. But there's a terrible problem. It has an odd number. Yeah, they tried. Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. I would add the subtitle, Never to Collaborate with a Klingon. This is your goal in life. So don't collaborate with the Klingons. Watch Star Trek III. We'll talk about it tonight at about 10:35, 10:30-ish, somewhere in there on this repeater. The Dallas Amateur Radio Club has a great lecture and lab coming up this month, converting a Hewlett-Packard Blade power supply to a high amperage ham power supply. Join us Saturday, August 24th at 10 a.m.
The kit cost is only $35. First come, first served, and more details are at w5fc.org. And finally, this Monday is the second Monday of the month, so MCOM 101 is our net. Join us at 1900 local time for a net that's open to any ham interested in public service communications. You don't have to be a member of any group. I still hope you'll join us. Anyway, NT5TM, back to net.
All right, let's see here. Let me see. We have the AMSAT nets. Don't forget, there are 3 nets in Dallas, Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. There's the National AMSAT net. Learn all about amateur radio satellites and how you can use them in amateur radio. The National AMSAT net will bring the most up-to-date information on amateur satellites currently in use or new ones that are out there. You'll need Echolink installed and you registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. There's also a live audio link available on their website, which is amsatnet.com. There are 2 local nets available in Dallas. Both of these nets encourage active check-ins, so you can ask questions in net control as well as others who are checked in. We have AMSAT Net East on this repeater at 8 p.m. on Tuesday. On Tom N5HYP is the net control, or welcome to check in. Now, during the first Tuesday of the month is the ARC Club night, so there is no AMSAT Net East because Tom's probably at the meeting with us. There's Dallas AMSAT Net West. That's every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, which is 147.140 megahertz with a PL 110.9 and a positive offset. We have a number of nets. Tony brought up the next net that we have, which will be MCOM 101. I wrote the wrong one down here. So don't forget to check in on that. That's a non-denominational one, so you can check in without fear of reprisal of some served agency. Fridays are CERT City simulation at 8 p.m. Via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa KF5GRH runs that net. So visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday, CERT City. All are welcome. Saturdays, of course, is the night of net. TechNet, all your technical questions answered from 7 to 8 p.m. Q&A on all things ham radio related, as well as a swap meet, Rookie's Corner, news and information, and ham radio events and contests. We have an alternating net control each week. Skynet from 9 until 10:30. Astronomy, space, and space exploration are the topics. News, information, all that. You're going through that right now. And then the Afterglow Movie Net from 10:30 to midnight. Will it be a hit or a dreaded miss? Thumbs up or thumbs down? You make the call. We watch an assigned science fiction movie and then review it for about 90 minutes. We discuss plot, characterization, special effects, music, and all of that. Daily, we have the ARRL National Traffic System Training Net, or the local net here, every night at 6:30 p.m., 7 days a week. Learn about how to handle message traffic on a formal training net. Newbies are welcome to check in, as this is a training net. Let's see, we also have the NTS also conducts an evening net on Irving on WA5CKF repeater at 146.72 megahertz at 9:30 p.m. You're welcome there. And then tonight is the Afterglow Net, as Tony had brought up. I will give you the highly accurate information on that. This is Star Trek III, The Search for Spock from 1984. Krug's day wasn't going all that well. First off, his girlfriend was on the line and his crew was intently watching. Before he knew it, she was complaining about him attending the annual Grumpy Klingon Command Convention while she was wringing information out of Federation Project Genesis for the humans. Plus, he'd forgotten their Friday night date yet again. Her calling him a self-centered bum didn't help. The scene later shifted to the Genesis planet. This time, his second-in-command accidentally pressed the photon torpedo button instead of the cigarette lighter button, conveniently located next to, you guessed it, the photon torpedo button. The USS Grissom immediately exploded. So much for getting intel on the Genesis from the captured Grissom crew, he thought, as he side. Next, his pet dinosaur, Fluffy, had climbed under the navigation console to retrieve his red rubber ball, causing a huge explosion from the high-voltage wires. Krug's day was bad and getting worse. So join us tonight. Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Yes, it is an odd-numbered movie, but it isn't that bad. The next really bad one, Star Trek V, which mercifully we'll never review. This one's from 1984. So come by and visit us tonight. You're welcome to check in and talk about the movie. You can keep up with all DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, W5FC. And for anybody who's tuned in a little bit later, go to W5FC.org if you'd like to check in electronically. Just put it on the list and just check in with your electronically. Look for the Skynet announcement, which is the second one on that page, and check in. And I will see it on the screen, and I'll acknowledge that you're there. Okay, and we will do regular audio check-ins a little bit later. We have now the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. That would be Chaz, KF5JHA. He's out in the Milky Way somewhere. Chaz, what do you have for us this evening?
Well, good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. Slide Master, that would be Tom. Slide number 1. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, August the 23rd. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas. And there's also a Zoom component, too. The featured speaker, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure about the topic. I'll see if I can figure it out before next week's Skynet. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions continue on. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night, so there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. Today is the second Saturday of the month, and the stargazing is held at Frisco. Is there anybody at tonight's stargazing that would like to make a report? Come now with your call sign. Well, Frisco's a ways away. I figured if there was a connection, it would probably only be on Echolink. So I think this stargazing is happening because it was mostly clear. There's some clouds up there in the sky. You can check the Texas Astronomical Society website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. This is KF5JHA, back to our net control, KE5ICX. Tom, it's yours.
All right, very good. Thank you, Chaz. And just to let everyone know, Brian, KJ5GNF, is checked in from Terrell, Texas. Thank you, Brian. Welcome to the net. Next up is National Space Society events and activities. That would be Bill, N5BB. Bill, what do you have for us this evening?
Well, thank you, Tom. This is N5BB, November 5, Bravo, Bravo. I happen to be the membership director and the member at large for the National Space Society North Texas chapter. The National Space Society is a nonprofit group based in the U.S. which is interested in the exploration and development of space and the creation of a spacefaring civilization. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The meeting location is Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road in Irving. Also, on the last Friday evening of each month, from 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas chapter sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. The location is Cheddar's Restaurant, 700 West 6th. Anyone is welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership at any group is required. This is the last Friday of each month. Our local NSS chapter website is ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box. The Sunday, August the 11th meeting, it's tomorrow, the topic will be Mars exploration, past, present, and future. It will be given by our president of our local chapter, Ken Ruffin. If you have any interest in the National Space Society or questions about our group, you can contact me at space@byrom.net. That's SPACE@BYROM.net. Or look up my email address on QRZ. If you want to attend the meeting tomorrow virtually on WebEx, you can do that also, but you will need to send me an email this evening so I can send you a registration message. That's all I've got, Tom. This is N5BB. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bill. Does anyone need any fills or have any questions? Please come with your call. All right, hearing none. Next section is Brenda, WB50ZL. She's over on Echolink. We were working through it to see if we could fix her Echolink problems since she's has some problems with the radio right now. So Brenda, WB50ZL, you want to give it a toot and see if it works? Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
Tom, this is WB50ZL. How is my signal? Do we dare try this?
You sound great. So yeah, signal is good. Volume is perfect. So please go ahead.
This article is entitled "The Rotation of a Nearby Star Stuns Astronomers." Astronomers have found from the University of Helsinki have found that the rotational profile of a nearby star, V88 Hercules, differs considerably from that of the Sun. The observation provides insights into the fundamental stellar astrophysics and helps understanding the activity of the Sun, its spot structures, and eruptions. The Sun rotates the fastest at the equator, as the rotation rate slows down at higher latitudes and is the slowest at the polar region. Nearby Sun-like star V88, 15 light years away in the constellation of Hercules. The fastest is a latitude of about 40 degrees, while both the equator and polar regions rotate more slowly. Similar rotational profile has not been observed for any other star. The result is stunning because stellar rotation has been considered a well understood parameter, but such a rotational profile has not been predicted even in computer simulations. We applied a newly developed statistical technique to the data of a familiar star that has been studied in the University of Helsinki for years. We do not expect to see such anomalies in stellar rotation. The anomalies in the rotational profile of V indicate that our understanding of stellar dynamics and dynamos are insufficient, explains researcher Tuomi, who coordinated the research. The target star of V889 Hercules is much like a young sun, in a story about the history and evolution of the sun. Astronomy emphasizes that it is crucial to understand, for instance, predict activity-induced phenomena on the solar surface, such as and eruptions. Stars are spherical structures. There is in the state of plasma consisting of charged particles. They are dynamical objects that hang in a balance between the pressure generated in nuclear reactions in their cores and their own gravity. They have no solid structures, unlike many planets. Where rotation is not constant for all latitudes, an effect known as differential rotation is caused by the fact that hot plasma rises to the star's surface, a phenomenon called convection, which in turn has an effect on the local rotational is caused by the fact that hot plasma rises to the star's surface via a phenomenon called convection. This angular momentum must be conserved, and the convection occurs perpendicular to the rotational axis. Here, it is parallel to the axis near the pole. However, many factors, such as stellar mass, age, chemical composition, rotation, solar rotation, and give rise to Thomas Hackman, of astronomy, who participated in the research, explains that the sun has a star for which studying the has been possible. Stellar differential rotation is a central factor that has an effect on the magnetic activity of stars. The method we have developed opens to the inner workings of other stars. Members of the Department of Particle Physics and Astrophysics of the Helsinki University determine the rotational profile of nearly 24 young stars by pulling to long baseline brightness observations. They modeled the periodic variations in the apparent spot movement at different latitudes, estimating the rotational profile. One of the target stars, LQ Hydrae, in the constellation was found to be rotating much like a rigid body. The rotation appeared unchanged from the equator to the pole, which indicates that the differences are very. Just base their results from the observations of the target stars from the sphere. Distances of the stars have been monitored with telescopes for around 30 years, which gives insights into the behavior of the stars over work of senior astronomer Gregory of Tennessee University, United States, who leads the airborne observational team. So, this up. The target stars V889 Hercules and LKQ Hydrae are both roughly 50 million old. In many respects resemble a young sun. They go very rapidly, with rotation for only about 1.5 days. Along baseline brightness, observations contain many rotational cycles. The stars were selected as and I'm about to time out, so I'm going to go ahead and close. This is WB50ZL, back to net.
All right, thank you, Brenda. And this is KE5ICX, and this is Skynet. Okay, let me see here. I think we got Brian checked in. So anyone else who'd like to check in, please come with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. Okay, next up is our topic of the evening, which is actually came from an article at space.com and astrobiology.com reporting on a topic where it is nearby star systems that could be good targets for the search for alien life. And that is brought, my dog is knocking something over. This is kind of interesting, involving about the X-ray radiation in a habitable zone. So this is something kind of new. I hope you find it interesting. It says, the map created by Chandra, which was celebrated 25 years in orbit but is facing a troubling budget crunch, could inform scientists which exoplanets to direct future telescopes toward to conduct searches for habitable conditions. The stars mapped by the telescope are arranged in concentric rings around the Sun at distances between 16.3 light years and 49 light years. This is close enough that telescopes could collect wavelengths of light or spectra from planets in the habitable zones of these stars. The habitable zones, or Goldilocks zone, is a region around the star that is neither too hot nor too cold to allow liquid water to exist on the world's surface. The spectra from these planets, created as starlight shines through their air, could potentially reveal surface features like continents and oceans and atmospheric characteristics like clouds and chemical contents. Chandra's X-ray capability is key to selecting which planets to investigate for possible habitability. High-energy light, like X-rays and ultraviolet radiation, can strip a planet's atmosphere and also break down the complex molecules needed as the building blocks of living things, ruining its habitability. Thus, if Chandra sees a planet under heavy X-ray bombardment, scientists can infer that it isn't the best world to study in the search for alien life. Whether characterizing X-rays from its host star, we would be missing a key element on whether a planet is truly habitable or not. University, the leader of the team behind the new map, said in a statement, "We need to look at what kind of X-ray doses these planets are receiving. X-rays are bad news for life, even in Goldilocks zones." Binder and colleagues built their map by initially starting with a list of 57 stars close enough to our solar system for that future telescopes in space, like the Habitable Worlds Observatory, and on terra firma, like the Extremely Large Telescope, or ELT, could image planets orbiting in their Goldilocks zones. Just being in a habitable zone isn't a guarantee that the planet is hospitable. However, Venus and Mars are both in a habitable zone of the Sun on either side of the Earth, but the Martian surface seems to be unsuitable for life as we know it, and superheated Venus is outright hostile to it. So to narrow down their list, the team used data from 10 days of Chandra observations and 26 observing days of the European Space Agency's XMM Newton Space Telescope to see how bright the stars are in X-rays. Then they determined how energetic these X-rays are and how rapidly the star's X-ray emissions changes. Scientists reasoned that the brighter and more energetic the X-rays were, the more likely any orbiting exoplanets had sustained serious damage to their atmospheres or lost them entirely. We've identified stars where the habitable zone, X-ray radiation environment, is similar to or even milder than the one in which Earth evolved, team member Sarah Peacock from the University of Maryland explains. Such conditions may play a key role in sustaining a rich atmosphere like the one here on Earth. This type of research will help guide observations with the next generation of telescopes aiming to make the first images of planets like Earth. A team of researchers examined stars that are close enough to Earth that future telescopes could take images of planets in their so-called habitable zones to find us orbits where the planets could have liquid water on their surfaces. Any images of the planets will be a single point of light and will not directly show surface features like clouds, continents, and oceans. However, their spectra, the amount of light at different wavelengths, will reveal information about the planet's surface, composition, and atmosphere. There are several factors influencing which could make a planet suitable for life as we know it. One of those factors is the amount of harmful X-rays and ultraviolet light it receives from the host star. Without characterizing X-rays from its host star, we would be missing a key element on whether the planet is truly habitable or not, Brendan Binder said. We need to look at what kind of X-ray doses these planets are receiving. Binder and her colleagues began with a list of stars that are close enough to Earth and ground and space to make images of the planets in their habitable zone. Based on X-ray observations, some of the stars using data from Chandra and XMM Newton, Binder's team examined which stars could host planets with hospitable conditions for life to form and prosper. The study studied how bright the stars are in X-ray, how energetic the X-rays are, and how much and how quickly they change the X-ray output, for example, due to flares. Brighter and more energetic X-rays can cause more damage to the atmospheres of orbiting planets. Some of the stars examined by the team are already known to be orbited by exoplanets with masses and sizes similar to the solar system's giants Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus, with a handful of candidates under around half the mass of Earth. There could also be planets in these systems with masses and sizes more compatible with Earth's that are currently undiscovered. Earth-sized planets in these systems may have been missed by the most reliable method of exoplanet detection, the transit method. This technique depends on a planet crossing or transiting the face of the star, causing a tiny dip in the output of starlight in the process. This depends on the planet coming between its star and Earth, meaning some systems just aren't oriented correctly to see worlds with the transit method. The technique is better at spotting massive planets close to their star, so smaller worlds that orbit relatively far away could be missed. The other primary exoplanet detection technique, the radial velocity method, hinges on spotting the wobble a planet causes as it orbits its star and gravitationally tugs on it. Again, this method favors massive planets close to their stars, which generate a more significant wobble. We don't know how many planets similar to Earth would be discovered in the images with the next generation of telescopes, but we do know that observing time on them will be precious and extremely difficult to obtain, said co-author Edward Schwiderman of the University of California at Riverside. These X-ray data are helping to refine and prioritize the list of targets and may allow the first image of a planet similar to Earth to be obtained more quickly. And there you have it. That is from the article, actually from that they reported and then called from the by Robert Leah from Space.com and Keith Calling from Astrobiology.com. Both really good websites, by the way, if you're into all of that. Space.com and Astrobiology.com. Okay, I don't know if I can answer any questions, but if anybody has any questions or comments, please come with your call now. Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and continue on to the next section. This one would be What's Up with Chaz, KF5JHA. Chaz, what's up?
Well, in short, the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, clouds, airplanes, hot air balloons. Ask an astronomer a good question. Oh, this is Chaz, KF5JHA, Slide Master, slide number 2. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks and beyond. Slide number 3. About 2 weeks ago, I received a telescope camera called ZWO C-Star S50. It was cloudy on that Wednesday, so I was unable to use it, but over the last, couple of weeks, I've been using it quite a bit. Slide Master, slide number 4. On Friday, that was yesterday, August the 9th, I was able to take this picture that you see on the video version of Skynet using this the provided solar filter of the ZWO C-Star. The large sunspot complex near the center of the sun is so large that you can actually see this with your solar eclipse glasses. That's all you need. Just put those things on, look at the sun, and you can see the spot right there. That's big. It's more than, well, I think it's more than 15 times the size of the Earth. Wow. The sun is nearly at its 11-year solar maximum. We've talked about the solar cycle in the past and Skynet. In fact, Tom talked a little bit about solar rotation just a little bit ago with Brenda. Later, yesterday evening, I was able to capture this image of the crescent moon, too. It's kind of cool. It's a little bit bigger tonight. Slide Master, slide number 5. Over the last couple of weeks, I took this picture of M20 called the Trifid Nebula, and also M7, an open star cluster. You know about the Trifid Nebula. It's one of those pictures that's in the original Star Trek deck, you know, all those above all their equipment. Yep, there you go. Okay, let's see now. It's remarkable at the details that I could take. By the way, these are all taken in Mesquite at the intersection of two freeways with a super bright LED parking lot light just a few feet away. You can look at some more pictures that I take and share with you on the video version of Skynet. And by the way, go to w5fc.org and click on the right links and you get the video version. I usually look at the YouTube one. I didn't bring that up tonight, but I might do that in between this segment and the next one. Slide Master, slide number 6. The moon was at new phase on August the 4th, so the current phase of the moon is a waxing crescent. Just talked about that, and you saw a picture of it just a moment ago. On August the 12th is the first quarter phase of the moon. On August the 19th, the moon is full. On August the 21st, the moon is at perigee, which is the point of the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth, and it is up 360,196 kilometers. On August the 26th, the moon will be at third quarter phase. On September the 2nd, the moon will be new. On September the 5th, the moon will be at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is the furthest from the Earth, is at a distance of 406,211 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 7, please. Well, believe it or not, tomorrow night, August the 11th and 12th, is the peak of the Perseid meteor shower. About 100 meteors per hour can be observed during the peak. The best time to observe meteors is the hour before dawn in the morning sky. You can get more information about meteors and meteor showers by visiting the International Meteor Organization, IMO.net, or the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org. Slide Master, slide number 8, please. On August the 13th, the southern evening sky, the moon and Antares are in conjunction. Slide number 9. On August the 15th, there's a conjunction of Mars and Jupiter in the early morning sky. They are less than a half a degree apart. I'm going to try to take a picture of them if it is clear. I hope it is. It's only in 5 days, isn't it? Sun of the moon and the minor planet Sirius in the southern sky. Slide Master, slide number 11. On August the 20th, there's a conjunction of the moon and the planet Saturn in the eastern evening sky. And Slide Master, slide number 12. On August the 26th, there's a conjunction of the moon and the star cluster M45. That's also known as the Pleiades, and that's in the eastern morning sky. This is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 13. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have a question or need a fill on any of the information? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. I give it a little bit extra time in case somebody on Echolink wants to make a transmission. So, the Slide Master, slide number 14. As the moon waned a couple of weeks ago, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live, at least right now. And until next time, well, actually, I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5, JHA, back to our net control. That would be Tom, KE5, ICX.
Very good. Thank you, Chaz, and thanks for your presentation. And yes, we'll be looking for you in just a bit. Just to remind everyone, you can do an electronic check-in by going to w5fc.org. You can also find the video there as well, and just click on the hot link and sign in there. I'll take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
This is Whiskey Bravo, number 4, Mike, Foxtrot, India, WV4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
This is Whiskey 5, Bacon, Lettuce, Tomato, W5BLT, Bill, Garlic.
This is Kilo Juliet 5, Hotel Mike Uniform, Owen, Dallas.
November 5, Sierra, Quebec Alpha, Ron, Dallas.
It's Al from Allen.
Oh, Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu, Whiskey, J, New
Wow, lots of people checked in. There was a double, so I'm going to need a fill on 2 of you for sure, because I only picked out just a little bit of one of the doubles. So we've got WB4 MFI, Ted in Dallas, NB5F, Virginia and Fort Worth, W5BLT, Bill in Garland, KJ5HMU, Owen in Dallas, N5SQA, Ron in Dallas. Now, the double came up here, and one of the individuals was from Allen. If you're from Allen, please come again with your call and name.
This is Kilo November 5, Echo, Echo, Echo. Name here is Al, Alpha Lima, and I'm from Allen, Texas.
Excellent. KN5 Triple E, Al in Allen. I have you checked in. And I also have Jay, KG5BZW, near Weatherford, over on Echolink. Now, I know I missed somebody out there, and maybe more. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo Juliet 5, Golf, Papa, Foxtrot, Jack, Dallas.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean, Fort Worth.
Okay, we picked out, I think I got our double there. KJ5GPF, that's Jack in Dallas, and KB9SOK, Sean over in Fort Worth. I've got you all checked in. Okay, very good. Well, next up is space exploration and space history, and Kelly, K5KTX, is our presenter this evening. So, Miss Kelly, please go ahead.
Hey Tom, this is K5KTX. Good evening, everyone. Well, this past Wednesday, NASA held a news conference to discuss the status of the Boeing Starliner that's currently docked at the International Space Station. Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams, two astronauts piloting the first crew test flight of Boeing's Starliner spacecraft, have now been in space for 66 days, roughly 7 weeks longer than initially expected. There is still no clear return date in sight, and NASA is now making clear that the astronauts may not come home on Starliner at all. SpaceX, Boeing Boeing's rival under NASA's Commercial Crew Program may be tapped to bring Williams and Wilmore home instead. The move could potentially extend the astronauts' stay on the International Space Station by another 6 months, pushing their return into 2025. Until now, officials have repeatedly indicated that Williams and Wilmore were likely to return home on Starliner, and a backup scenario involving Crew Dragon was mentioned as a mere possibility. Wednesday's update, however, suggests the SpaceX vehicle is rapidly becoming a serious option. Officials said the space agency has until roughly mid-August to make a final decision. Ground testing that mission teams carried out in New Mexico as they worked to understand the problem led to surprising results, said Steve Stitch, NASA's Commercial Crew Program Manager, on Wednesday. NASA previously said it found that excess heat around some of Starliner's thrusters was causing Teflon seals to bulge, restricting the flow of propellant and triggering the thruster issues. Uncertainty about whether those bulging seals are indeed the root cause of the issue and how the problem might affect the Starliner vehicle in space are the basis for disagreements within NASA about how safe it is for the crews to return on the Starliner, officials revealed at the news conference. An option is to launch a planned SpaceX Crew Dragon mission, Crew 9, with 2 astronauts on board instead of 4. That would leave 2 seats empty for Williams and Wilmore to occupy on the Crew 9 flight home, but that would also make the astronauts part of the overall Crew 9 rotation on the International Space Station. That means Williams and Wilmore would remain on station for another 6 months, the length of a routine mission to the ISS, pushing the return to at least February 2025. In that case, Starliner would be left to fly home empty, and NASA would then have to decide whether the data mission gathered on this flight is enough to give the space agency the confidence to officially certify Starliner to make. Well, NASA noted it is not certain that the space agency will need a contingency plan at all. Stitch added that returning Williams and Wilmore aboard Starliner remains the prime option. Notably, however, NASA announced Tuesday that it was delaying the launch of SpaceX's Crew 9 mission. Crew 9 had been slated to take off as soon as August the 18th, with the expectation that the Starliner capsule would have returned home with its astronauts before then. Now, Crew 9 will not take off before September 24th, NASA said, allowing more flexibility for the agency to make a decision on use of Starliner contingency plan. Some complications remain, however, whether NASA chooses to fly Williams and Wilmore home on Crew Dragon or not. If Starliner is made to fly home empty, for example, the spacecraft will require a software update to configure the vehicle for autonomous flight home. That would essentially revert the Starliner's computers to run on code the company originally wrote for a 2022 uncrewed test flight. So as of Wednesday, it is still not clear whether NASA is leaning toward returning the astronauts on Starliner or making use of its contingency plan. In any case, it is rather crowded at the space station. Currently, the Starliner, SpaceX Crew 8 Dragon, and the Soyuz MS-25 cruise ships, plus the Northrop Grumman Cygnus 21, Progress 87, and 88 supply ships are all docked at the station. Crew 8 Dragon and the Soyuz MS-25 are scheduled to return sometime in September, and the Soyuz MS-26 is scheduled to launch in September with our favorite astronaut who has been on Skynet a few years ago, Don Pettit. In space history for this past week, beginning on August the 6th, 2012, this is a night I will not ever forget. I stayed up all night watching this. NASA's Mars rover Curiosity made one of the most dramatic and harrowing landings in the history of space exploration. In the very early morning of August the 6th, 2012, Central Daylight Time, a rocket-powered sky crane lowered the car-sized Curiosity onto Mars' red dirt using cables, then flew off and crash-landed intentionally a safe distance away.
Curiosity team members had modeled this novel technique repeatedly using computers, but it had never been tested fully here on Earth, let alone employed on the surface of another world. Still, everything worked perfectly at crunch time, and Curiosity soon began exploring the interior of Mars's 96-mile-wide Gale crater. The discoveries came fast. The rover found that the area near its landing site harbored a lake and stream system long ago, showing that at least some parts of the red planet could have supported microbial life in the ancient past. The main goal of the Curiosity mission is to answer that very question. By the way, Adam Stelzner, who was the entry descent landing lead for Curiosity, was the chief engineer for the Mars 2020 rover Perseverance. August the 8th, 2001, NASA's Genesis probe launched from Cape Canaveral. Its goal was to collect a sample of the solar wind from beyond the moon's orbit and return it back to Earth for further study. While in space, the craft pointed its detectors toward the sun, where the particles of the solar wind became embedded. After 850 days of collection, the spacecraft returned to Earth. The sample return capsule was meant to be retrieved in midair. However, the parachute designed to slow the capsule failed, and the spacecraft crashed into the Utah desert at 193 miles per hour on September 8, 2004. While some of the sample collectors were contaminated by the crash, many were recovered and analyzed, increasing further our knowledge of the solar wind. August the 10th, 1966, the Lunar Orbiter 1 spacecraft launched. It was designed to photograph smooth areas of the moon's surface to help select and verify safe landing sites for the Surveyor and Apollo missions. One of 3 robotic precursor programs for the Apollo lunar landing effort, Lunar Orbiter was the most successful. 5 Lunar Orbiter missions were launched, and all of them were successful. The historic mission took the first photos of the Earth from the distance of the moon, the first Earthrise picture, snapped the first close-up photos of the moon, and photographed over 5 million square kilometers of the moon's surface. By the end of the Lunar Orbiter program, 99% of the moon's surface, both near and far side, had been photographed with resolution down to 1 meter. Last week we had several astronauts celebrating birthdays. Starting on August the 4th, we have 3. 1943, Michael McCauley, who was part of Space Shuttle mission STS-34. And then August the 4th, 1955, we have 2 astronauts born that same day. One was Charles Gemar. He was on Space Shuttle missions STS-38, 48, and 62. And Andrew Allen, who was also on Space Shuttle mission STS-62. That must have been fun. And he was part of Space Shuttle missions STS-46 and 75. On August the 5th, 1930, Neil Armstrong, who was, of course, part of Gemini 8 and the Apollo 11 missions. Rounding out the astronaut birthdays for this past week, August the 6th, 1950, Winston Scott. He was Space Shuttle missions STS-72 and 87. Also August the 6th, 1962, Gregory Kamatoff, who has a ham radio sign of KD5PKZ, and he was part of Space Shuttle mission STS-124 and 126 as part of Expeditions 17 and 18, and he was also on Space Shuttle mission STS-134. August the 7th, 1956, Kent Rominger, Space Shuttle missions STS-73, 80, 85, 96, and 100. And also August the 7th, 1962, Jose Hernandez, who was on Space Shuttle mission STS-128. And by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, there is a movie on Amazon Prime called A Million Miles Away that is about Jose Hernandez. Very fascinating story of how he became an astronaut, and it's for free on Amazon. A Million Miles Away. And that's all I've got this evening. This is K5KTX. Back to you, Tom.
All right, very good. Good. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate that. Very interesting report this week. And let's see here. Whoops. Oh, there we go. I'm trying to make things work here. Hold on. Okay, this is KE5ICX Net Control for tonight's Skynet. I'm going to check in Bob. He may have left in a huff because I didn't acknowledge him earlier on. He was on Echolink, but Bob, AI5QE, if you're listening, I finally got you checked in. Is anyone else? I'm going to ask over on Echolink. There are a few new people on there. If you would like to join us, just you can tap in there and say that you're here, or if you'd like to check in by voice, you can do so now. Echolink only, please come.
For Whiskey Charlie X-Ray K04 WCX Paul from North Carolina. Give him back to net.
All right, excellent. We've got K04WCX, Paul over in North Carolina. Welcome, Paul. I think you were here last week. It's time for Chaz again, and that also means his jokes. So, well, we got Chaz again. So, KF5JHA, Chaz, go ahead with Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week, please.
You saying something about my jokes? I've grown up my own jokes. Slide master, that would be Tom. Slide number 15. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week is named in honor of Silent E. Carolyn, AC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week this week is actually a twofer. Scutum, the shield, and Corona Austrina, pronounced several different ways, the Southern Crown. Now, these two constellations, the Southern Crown and the Shield, are south and north of Sagittarius. Since they both have Milky Way running through them, they have a wide variety of different objects. Both of them was known by the Greeks, well, let's see now, the Southern Crown was known to the Greeks as a wreath, not a crown, before Ptolemy introduced its stars as a separate constellation. Corona Australis is also known as a circlet of stars, or seen as one, near the 4 feet of Centaur, which is Sagittarius. Corona Australis is one of the smallest constellations of the sky, only 80th in size. It occupies an area of only 128 square degrees. Scutum, the Shield, is one of the more modern constellations. It was created in 1684 by astronomer Johannes Helvius, who named it for Scobeski's Shield, which is in honor of the patron Saint King John III of Poland. Scutum is the only modern constellation introduced for political reasons. It is the 5th smallest constellation in the sky. It's the 84th constellation in size, occupying only an area of 109 square degrees. And now, as what Tom was talking about, the most important part, okay, I'm kidding about that, of Skynet, the jokes of the week. Slide master, slide number 16. Okay, here we go. You know what to do. Either moan, groan, through popcorn or something, you know. Now, you've got to say, I'm a big fan of S.H.I.E.L.D. There's something I really can get behind. Come on, that was a joke. What do you call the Hulk when he picks up Captain America's shield? Well, that would be the Star-Spangled Banner. If you don't get that, I can explain it to you later. Where does Wonder Woman get her shield from? Well, she orders it from Amazon. Why did the king go to the dentist? To get his teeth crowned. See, we're talking about the Southern Crown too. Okay. Did you hear about the newborn baby? It was its first crowning achievement. Okay, I know. I used it when I talked about the Northern Crown a few weeks ago. All right. Slide Master, slide number 17. I'd like to talk about one star in Corona Australis. Meridiana is what it looks like, how you pronounce it. Anyway, it's Alpha Corona Australis, which is a class A25 star with an apparent magnitude of 4.10. It is 130 light years in distance. It's the only named star in the constellation. It got its name Alpheca Meridiana, or the Alpheca of the South, after Alpheca, which is the brightest star in the northern constellation, Corona Borealis. Slide Master, slide number 18. The Corona Australis Nebula is a bright reflection nebula, about 420 light years in distance, formed by several bright stars caught up in a dark cloud of dust. The cloud is a star-forming region with clusters of young stars embedded within it. The Corona Australis Nebula consists of three nebulous regions, NGC 6726, NGC 6727, and NGC 6729. The molecular cloud complex in the region is one of the nearest areas of recent or ongoing intermediate and low mass star formation. Interesting. Close by. Wonder if we'll visit that sometime. Slide Master, slide number 19. The Coronet cluster is located 420 light years from the Earth and stretches about 10 light years across. The Coronet cluster is a relatively loose cluster of only a few dozen stars, many of which are about a few million years old, so pretty young ones. It must be one of the nearest known regions of ongoing star formation. While perhaps not quite as well known as the star-forming cousin Orion Nebula, the Corona Australis region, containing at its heart the Coronet cluster, is one of the nearest and most active regions of ongoing star formation. I just told you that in the last slide. Slide Master, slide number 20, please. We're going to switch constellations. Alpha Scuti is the brightest star in the constellation of Scutum, the Shield. It is the orange giant with a stellar classification of K23. It has an apparent magnitude of 3.85 and is approximately 174 light years in distance from the Earth. The star used to belong to Aquila, the constellation of Aquila, and was previously designated as 1 Aquilae. It's known a variable star, and its brightness varies about 10%. Alpha Scuti is 132 times more luminous than our Sun and has a mass 1.7 times the mass of our Sun. It's believed to be about maybe 2 billion years old. Slide Master, slide number 21. M11, and if you take a look at this on the video version, that's a picture I've taken within the last 2 weeks. Yes, with my new device, the C-Star. M11 was discovered in 1681 by Gottfried Kirch of the Berlin Observatory, but he could not resolve it into individual stars. Its true stellar nature was not discovered until 17 1844, renowned British astronomer Admiral William Smith, or Smythe, described M11 as a flight of wild ducks in shape, and that name stuck. M11 is easily found with binoculars or a finder scope. In small telescopes, the cluster has a triangular V shape, forming Admiral Smith's flock of wild birds. The 8th magnitude star at the apex of the V is not a cluster member, but a foreground star. But I think it's the lead deck. Slide master, slide number 22. M26 is a small, loose, open cluster. Oh, by the way, that picture is also taken by my Sea Star in the last couple of weeks. It's a quite different in contrast to M11. M26 is much more sparsely populated, is noticeable and smaller than M11 when you take a look at it. Robert Burnham Jr. noted that Admiral Smith described M26 as a coarse but bright cluster of stars in a fine, condensed part of the Milky Way, which just about sums it up, as the whole constellation of Scutum is taken up by the Scutum star cloud, which is the brightest part of the Milky Way outside of the constellation of Sagittarius. Slide master, slide number 23, please. Now, there's a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellations of Scutum, the Shield, and Corona Austrana, the Southern Crown. I have just given you a few of those objects. The constellation, the Astronomical League, has at last count 74 different constellation programs, most of which have about 100 objects. Now, if you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pin in about a year from the Astronomical League. And slide master, slide number 24, that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Scutum, the Shield, and Corona Austrana, the Southern Crown. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. Also, at times use the website, constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next time we'll only take a look at one thing, not two constellations, Aquila the Eagle, which is right next to Scutum, and sometimes people think that M11 is in Aquila the Eagle, but it's not. So this is KF5, JHA, Chaz, saying goodnight, and 73. Back to our net control, Tom, KE5, ICX.
Well, thank you, Chaz, and thank you for the presentation. By the way, you're going to have to tell us all about that camera, that nifty camera, and how it works, and how you came across it and all that. So maybe that's for a future Skynet. We'll find out. All right, next up is space launches for this week. I'll go ahead and give you some of those. We did have a launch, I think, this morning, Starlink 10-7 from Launch Complex 39A from Kennedy. Another batch of V2 mini satellites for Starlink in low Earth orbit. New Zealand time, PM, on the 21st. Is this? On the 21st, I'm not sure what that means. We'll launch Complex 1 from Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. It will be Electron rocket. Will launch the Acadia 3 satellite for Capella Space, a commercial provider, synthetic aperture radar, or SAR imagery. The satellite will be deployed into a 615-kilometer circular orbit. The mission is named, you're going to like this one, Virginia, A Sky Full of SARS, S-A-R-S, by Rocket Lab. Then we have also August 11th, 12th, another Falcon 9 launch, ASBN from Vandenberg, SLC-4E. Falcon 9 rocket will launch an Arctic satellite broadband mission consisting of 2 satellites owned by Space Norway. Falcon 9 will launch 2 Northrop Grumman-built satellites into highly elliptical orbits that linger over the Arctic region. Then on August 15th, Falcon 9 Transporter 11 mission from SLC-4E and Vandenberg as well will launch dozens of satellites into sun-synchronous orbit. The 11th such rideshare program. Among the payloads are the European Space Agency's Arctic Weather Satellite, UK-based Surrey Satellites Tyche satellite for UK Space Command, Japan-based IQPS SAR number 8 satellite, and the US-based rocket Planet Labs Tanager 1 satellite. Also in August will be launch of Worldview Legion 3 and 4 from SLC-40. This is the second pair of Worldview Legion Earth observation satellites from Maxar Technologies. They plan to deploy 6 commercial Worldview Legion high-resolution remote sensing satellites into a mix of sun-synchronous and mid-inclination orbits on 3 SpaceX Falcon 9 rockets. On August 26th, Falcon 9 launch of Polaris Dawn from 39A at Cape Kennedy. This will be the Crew Dragon spacecraft. The Polaris Dawn mission will be commanded by billionaire Jared Isaacman, making his second trip into space. He'll be joined on the all-private mission by pilot Scott Kidd Poteet, SpaceX employees Sarah Gillis, and Anna Menon. The Crew Dragon will return to it for a splashdown at sea. All right, let's see. What else have we got? Do we have any additional check-ins? If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. Turn that down. All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and continue. Next up are satellite passes, and I'm just limiting these to the ISS and Tiangong. And in this case, I have a couple here. We have on August 15th, the ISS will fly over minus 1.3 magnitude at 4:49 a.m. out of the north-northwest to reach its highest point at I missed one here at 4:49 at 12 degrees, and it'll fall into shadow at 4:49. Actually, I got a better one. I wrote the wrong one down. August 13th is the one I wanted to give you. 4:47. It'll be 65 degrees when it comes out of shadow. It'll be at its highest point at 75 degrees at 4:48, and then it will fall to the north-northeast at 4:51. Then we have, let's see, the Tiangong space station. Let's see what we got here. We got the right thing set. Oh, you know what? I know what's wrong. We lost the longitude and latitude. And never mind. Just scrap those. I can see why I've got a problem. Normally I have, and it holds the longitude and latitude, but for whatever reason, today it did not, and I've got 0, 0. So forget that. Just erase everything I told you. I gave you the wrong information. So happens every once in a while. Okay, well, we're at 10:22. I've run out of things to talk about. Let me go ahead and ask, is there any questions out there that you would like answered? We've got the core group here. We've got our professional astronomer. We have our space ambassador for JPL. And we have a bunch of people that are very knowledgeable. I am not one of them, but I will take questions. If you got something you want to ask that's been bothering you about space or astronomy and you need an answer and you can't get it anywhere like the interwebs, you like to hear from a real person, now's your opportunity. Please come now with your call sign. 36. Actually, it's 35 check-in. Okay, hearing none, I'm just doing my calculations here. Tonight we had, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. We had 35 check-ins. That's not too bad. Participating on the air this evening, and thanks to all who checked in. We hope you join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration, because on this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and X, as well as our audio and video streams video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, KE5ICX Tom, and I'll be closing the net at 22:24 local time, returning the repeater to normal amateur use, at least for about, 5 minutes or so. Until next, let's see, 7-3 everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. We will be back in about 5 minutes, almost to the second. 5 minutes to discuss tonight's movie, Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Come on by. I think it'll be fun. See you then.
Normal state.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Okay, well, it is now time for the movie, so we are going to discuss Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. If you remember, we went to Field Day and actually watched the Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and this is the direct sequel. It takes place just immediately after Star Trek II, so Star Trek III, The Search of Spock seemed like a logical thing. For the record, the Paramount company that owns, which actually I guess is who owns it, Sony, I don't know. Everybody owns everybody now. CBS, I guess, owns the rights to Paramount these days, and I think Paramount was just sold to a major film studio producer, so and I don't know who that is. But anyway, through the merger mania, in the end, all of the films have been now released to YouTube for free, and I think Pluto as well. So if you're into the Star Trek films, including the new Trek, the reboots, you can see them all for free right now, which is rather nice. So this one came off of YouTube, but you could certainly watch it on Pluto in high definition, which is always a pleasure to see, and 5.2 sound, I think, 5.1 sound. So if you didn't get to see it this time around, very easy on the eyes and fun to watch on in high def. So let me just give you the information on Star Trek 3. I think everybody knows the plot, but I'll give you a little bit of information. From the Wikipedia, it says this was a 1984 American science fiction film written and produced by Harve Bennett and directed by Leonard Nimoy and based on the television series Star Trek. It's the third film in the Star Trek franchise and the second part of a three-part story arc, which begins with Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, and ends with Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. After the death of Spock, played by Nimoy, the crew of the USS Enterprise returned to Earth when James T. Kirk learns that Spock's spirit, or Katra, is held in the mind of Dr. McCoy, played by DeForest Kelley. Kirk and company steal the decommissioned USS Enterprise to return Spock's body to the home world. The crew must also contend with hostile aliens led by Krug, played by Christopher Lloyd, who are bent on stealing the secrets of the powerful terraforming device, Genesis. Paramount commissioned the film after a positive critical and commercial reaction to The Wrath of Khan. Nimoy directed the film, becoming the first Star Trek cast member to do so. Producer Harve Bennett wrote the script, starting from the end and working back, and intended the destruction of the Enterprise to be a shocking development. Bennett and Nimoy collaborated with effects house ILM, or Industrial Light Magic, to develop storyboards and new ship designs. They also handled the film's many special effects sequences. Aside from the single day of location shooting, the film was not shot entirely on Paramount and ILM sound stages. Composer James Horner returned to expand his themes from the previous film. Search for Spock opened on June 1st, 1984. Its first week of release, the film grossed over $16 million from almost 2,000 theaters across North America. It went on to gross $76 million at the domestic box office, with a total of $87 million worldwide. Critical reaction to Search for Spock was generally positive, but notably less so than the previous film. Reviewers generally praised the cast, Nimoy's direction, and characters, while criticism tend to focus on the plot. The special effects were conflictingly received. Roger Ebert called the film a compromise between the tones of the first and second Trek films. So there you have it. Here's the game we play in case you're listening for the first time, and there may be some folks. I will take check-ins from folks who are listening, and they will get a chance to speak. I'll also take check-ins towards when I get to the bottom of the list. So if you don't get called upon in the first round for whatever reason, actually you will on the first round. But for future nets, if you get in here late and you are worried you won't get in, never fear. We always ask for additional check-ins before we move to the next section and comments from the current section. We will talk about the plot at the first round. Then the second round, we will talk about characterization and the acting. And in the third round, we'll talk about special effects, music, anything you want to talk about, or anything you missed or wanted to talk about but forgot in the first 2 rounds. And then we'll call it a night. That's generally about 90 minutes long. So we'll go ahead and get started with check-ins, our first part. I will take check-ins. If you like to join us, please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see the search for Spock?
Tony in Dallas. Yes, I did.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo.
Yes, I saw it.
Kilo Golf 2, Bravo Alpha Delta, Brian in Oak Cliff, and yes, I did see it.
Kilo Juliet 5, Golf November Foxtrot. I saw it many, many years ago, and hearing about this is making me want to see it again. KJ5 GNS.
November 5, Sierra, Quebec Alpha, Ron, Dallas. I saw it many, many years ago, but I'm going to wait till I hear some discussion here before I decide whether I want to see it again.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth. Yes, I saw it.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Lima Lima, Huey Richardson, first time.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen this film.
Whiskey 5, Vegas, Lettuce, Tomato, 5, BLT, Bill, Charlotte. Yep, I just seen it.
Golf 5, Bravo 0 Whiskey. Jay November, yes, don't see the film.
Five, Oscar Zulu Lima. Brenda in Dallas. Yes, I saw the film.
Wow, I think this is the most check-ins we've had in quite a while. So let me go down the list. I got NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. Yep, he saw it. N5BB, Bill. Yep, he saw it. KG2BAD. I think that's Brian. Yeah, Brian over in Terrell. Yep, he saw it. N5SQA, Ron. He's in Dallas. He says, well, maybe he saw it, maybe he didn't. It's possible. It's easy to get the movies mixed up. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure you saw it. But we'll ask you. You'll get a chance to listen, see what people thought about. NV5F, Virginia, full of stars. Fort Worth, yep, she saw it. KF5PLL, Huey in Richardson. Hello, Huey. Did you see the film?
Oh, we me, sir. KF5 PLL.
Excellent, I have it down. KB9SOK, Sean, Fort Worth, yep. W5BLT, Bacon, Lettuce, and Tomato Bill, he is in Garland. Yeah, he saw it. KG5BZWJ, near Weatherford, not in Weatherford, but near it. Yes, he saw the movie. And WB5OZL, Brenda in Dallas. Yes, she saw the film. Anyone else? Please come now. Okay, kids, it's a lot of folks, so let's go down the list. We'll start at the top. Tony, NT5TM. Tony, what did you think about the plot for Star Trek III, the original cast?
create a successful movie here. You know, I don't want to say they were coasting or not trying, but just the tautness and constantly rising action and horror from Star Trek II was completely absent. Likewise, the wonderful sense of humor and love from Star Trek IV was completely absent. So this movie was just an attempt to sort of create a mediocre drama, and I guess it succeeded. I'll talk more about characters and music. I have some notes about those. But I do enjoy this movie. It's more like an episode of TV, like it was supposed to be 42 minutes long. Yes, this happens, that happens. Oh, I'm so glad the original cast gets to steal a starship. Oh, they tricked the big bad. Oh, there's a character sacrifice, and they still managed to make the plot happen. It really just felt more like an episode in a serial. It wasn't deplorable, it just wasn't thrilling. And so, I guess it hurts that I'm comparing it to two really outstanding movies. This was just mediocre. I do enjoy it. I didn't mind watching it again. But, not like a movie I'd recommend to somebody. NT5 PM.
Thank you, Tony. Yeah, odd-numbered movie. I get it. N5BB, Bill, your thoughts on plot?
Thank you, Tom. This is N5BB. Well, I've never seen this movie before today. I've seen other Star Trek movies in the past, but for some reason I had missed this one. So I did not know what was going to happen. Although the title gave it away, The Search for Spock. Anyway, some things about the plot bothered me. One thing that bothered me is the melodrama. You're going to fall over the edge of the cliff, and you just don't do it, but you kick the other guy off the edge. Or the planet's falling apart, and you transport out 5 seconds before the ground collapses in that area. Or what do they call them? The space doors, whatever in the space station that were preventing them, the base, that were preventing them from leaving. Putting right at it, they're moving continuously right toward it with the Enterprise. And Scotty gets them open with just moments to spare. It's like you're looking to hear a sound of the Enterprise scraping against the edges of the door. Come on. There's no need to do that. And it bothers the heck out of me after a while, especially when they do it several times in the movie. They think it's producing tension. Well, yeah, but after several times, it's not real. It's not part of the plot. It's part of something they just dumped in there to make it have more tension right there. So that bothered me. The whole idea of reanimating Spock somehow, who just kind of accidentally happened to be released onto Genesis and for some reason got regenerated, which not they didn't explain how the Genesis process worked. I don't know, that was a little goofy to me, a little over the top. N5BB, a little bit of a Frankenstein kind of thing. And the whole progress of the young Spocks becoming older was also a little bit, unscientific, let's put it that way. So I think the plot was stretched in many places. Just And from what I read, what they did is they wrote the end of the movie, and then they moved backwards. They know what they wanted to do at the end, and then they just moved backwards to get everything to line up with what happened at the end. So I think it shows it. That's all. Oh, one more thing. I wasn't watching carefully enough. I guess I got distracted by something in the room. And when I looked back, the USS Grissom, had disappeared. Why? How? What happened? Where was the sequence of action going on? I missed it. So it was uneven. Some things seem to be stretched way out. Well, other things, like the Grissom disappearing, just occurred in the blink of an eye. That's all, in 5BB.
It was a lucky shot, Bill. That's what happened. The ship got blown up by the Klingon battle cruiser or scout ship, I guess. Oh, well. Okay, next up is Brian, KG2BAD. Brian, your comments on plot from KE5ICX.
I mean, similar to what was already been said. I enjoyed it. It's got the odd number curse of the Star Trek franchise. I still enjoyed it, but it's it's not the best. It's certainly it's not the worst, but it's not the best of all the Star Trek movies. Some of the plot is a bit of a stretch, and it's been a long time since I've seen it, so I don't quite remember all the details, but I liked it. They could have done better, and but I enjoyed it just like I enjoy pretty much everything that is Star Trek. So that's really all I got. So KG2B80, back to the net.
All right, thank you. Let's see. Next up is KJ5GNF, and that is also Brian over in Terrell. Brian, your thoughts on the plot from KE5ICX. Okay, he may have stepped away, fallen asleep, or something. Okay, next up is Ron, N5SQA. Ron, do you remember this movie, or did you not remember this movie, or maybe you never saw it? You could have had a Bill moment and have never seen this film. It's entirely possible, apparently. What your thoughts from KE5ICX?
Thank you, Tom. Pretty sure I saw the movie when it came out. I really have no recollection of it. I've kind of lost the Star Trek thread until they made sort of the newer series. That was, by newer, I mean 15 years ago. So I'm just here enjoying the camaraderie of sci-fi people who enjoy these movies, and I'll continue listening for a while. You don't necessarily need to call on me anymore. N5SQA.
All right, well, thank you, Ron, and thank you for checking in to let us know you're out there. That's perfectly fine, too. Next up is Virginia, NB5F. Virginia, you've seen it. What'd you think of the plot?
Thanks, Tom. Well, I tend to agree. The problem with the plot for this movie is that when they were making the second movie, Leonard Nimoy wouldn't sign on to do it unless they promised him that they would kill Spock at the end. And so Nick Meyer wrote a really good script with that happening, and then Nimoy and the studio got cold feet
and they added that insert shot of Spock mind melding with Dr. McCoy, and the rest is history. They had to, and Nick Meyer did not like that. He did not want that to happen. He was the director, and he did not, to this day, he still hates that. So yeah, they were like, well, and then to come back, I think Leonard Nimoy said, well, if you want me to come back and be Spock again, I get to direct the movie. And it was a tough choice to direct that movie because, like everybody's been saying, it was kind of a, well, we know what's going to happen because we've got to bring Spock back to life so that we can make more of these movies. With Spock, they just couldn't fathom going on, I guess, without him, and it would have been hard because he's popular. So the outcome was prescribed. I had trouble with some of the turns they took in order to conveniently make this plot work, especially turning Kirk's son David into some kind of unethical scientist who decided to use dark matter or whatever, and that was just thrown in. I don't like revisionist plot writing. And yeah, convenient off-screen ships being blown up, and the lack of really good explanation about. I mean, I'm not sure, Bill. I wasn't sure if you didn't recall that the end of Star Trek II, the reason that Spock was coming back to life was because when he got killed in the last, put him on a photon torpedo casing and launched him in that was his funeral, and he ended up landing, his torpedo landed on the newly formed Genesis planet, and so his remains, I guess, regenerated because the planet was in this crazy, growth cycle that was apparently caused by the bad science of David and they at least attempted to create some tension with the Klingons blowing up the ship and then them getting stranded down there with Klingons holding them hostage. The whole thing with Spock growing up and too fast and not really having a soul. That was kind of weird, but I guess hey, it's Star Trek. We also have Spock's Katra inside of Dr. McCoy, which is kind of hilarious, but this movie was gratuitous Star Trek at its worst, I guess, in ways. I'm fine to watch it. I usually enjoy it, but it's a lot of not very clever, one-liners. I joked last night when we were watching it about how every line almost every line in this is a one-liner. There was a couple of fun character moments, and of course it's always good to see Spock. Which this movie, the biggest saving grace of the plot of this movie is that it sets up for Spock being kind of a quirky character in number 4. He's still making his comeback, and he's kind of the fish out of water, sort of almost innocent kind of, hey man, what's going on? Like relearning everything and all that, and that makes him kind of a fun character in the 4th movie. So of course I like that he's back at the end, but it was, I think the whole thing could have been done better, but it was really a, let's fix the mess up we did in the last movie by killing Spock in the first place. So yeah, I'm kind of with some of the rest of y'all, but it's one I can watch. It's not the worst of the worst Star Trek movies in D5S.
All right, thank you, Virginia. I'm sensing a pattern here. Next up is Huey, KF5PLL. Huey, if you're still there, and you probably are, your thoughts on the plot.
One moment, please.
KJ5GNF, recheck.
I'm still here, KF5PLL.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, hold on here. I've got Brian. He's back. KJ5GNF. Go ahead.
To generate revenue and to just add to the Star Trek canon. As such, it was a movie that the studios knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that people would go and see, but added very little to the entertainment value of the Star Trek franchise back then.
All right. Thank you, Huey. Yes, I think you are adding to the theme here that's basically what it did. Just an extension and a reason to make another movie. Okay. Brian, KJ5GNF. You have to recheck. We called on you earlier. You probably disappeared, but you're back. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm actually swimming in my pool using a Bofang UV5R, and I had it on a little antenna. I don't think I was getting through very well, so I switched back to my full J-pole, and I think I missed being called on, so I wanted to recheck real quick. Yeah, it's been many years since I saw this movie, but what I remember most about it is it was one of the first ones that I saw other than the television series. And the characters had aged quite a bit, and by this point I was still pretty young, and so I just thought, man, they didn't age well. And now I'm much older than those characters, and I look back on that and just think how our perspectives change as times go on. But I did think it was very campy. Someone mentioned the one-liners. It did seem gratuitous, like they were trying to pay almost too much homage to the original. But anyway.
I hope he didn't drown.
Yeah. Brian, KJ5GNF, you kind of cut off there. You said something gratuitous and then cut off. We hope you didn't get electrocuted.
Sorry about that. I have a timeout timer on the radio, and I think it timed out on me. But yeah, I was just wrapping up. It was one of the first movies that I saw, other than the live action, and it just. I don't know. I was just struck at the time, just how old the characters seemed, and now they seem quite young. Now that I've passed their age. KJ5GNF.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. It was interesting. I just say this and move on to the next part. But yes, I had the same feeling. I was watching the characters and Shatner and Nimoy and that, and realized I'm older than they were when they made this movie, and I thought they were old then. So, golly! And now I'm looking at myself in the video feed and go, God, I'm old. Okay, well, it happens to the best of us and the worst of us and everybody else too. Sean, KB9SOK, your thoughts on the plot for Star Trek 3?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I agree with what everybody said. Not a lot to add there to it in reality. But yeah, this was definitely a very, very, very simple plot that they stretched out. I think Tony nailed it when he said that this really should have been a 45-minute TV episode, because there just wasn't enough content here to actually actually fill an hour and a half movie. Part of that evidence is literally I was looking at the timer, and they spent literally the first half of the movie just getting out of space dock. You know, we all go into this back and forth, and then they finally get out. Then we finally get to the action. So it's clear that they were just looking for filler. And it's unfortunate. Yeah, I do. You know, I still enjoyed seeing it when I went to the theater, and I didn't mind watching it again. Kind of made into a trilogy. This was clearly just a stepping stone to get to the third one, or the fourth movie, if you want to call it that way. So yeah, it was kind of unfortunate. You know, once again, it was just kind of a filler. Would have been nice. But yeah, I think to me one of the big plot holes that hasn't even been really brought up yet is the fact that, you know, Starfleet wouldn't let them go get Spock, one of the most decorated, you know, people. And even though, yeah, it's kind of crazy, the reason why he might still be alive, still, we've been friends with the Vulcans for a long time at that point. So you think they would have believed him. And being that they could have sent the original crew to rescue him without any chance of anybody new finding out about Genesis, because they already knew about it. So to me, the first half of the movie, which is solely based upon trying to get back to Genesis, was really the biggest plot hole, because there was really no need for that. So yeah, that was one of the big plot holes. And I agree. You know, Kirk's son's death was completely nonsense. There was no reason for that, other than just, once again, trying to create that tension and a reason for, you know, obviously the captain to be upset. So that just didn't make sense. You know, and this one unfortunately was full of a lot of plot holes. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy seeing it, but it was just really kind of weak. And especially, you know, I don't remember it being quite that weak originally when I saw it. It's been a long time since I've seen it. And then, you know, and it was great to see Spock back, but this is kind of one of the issues that we're having with the modern, you know, science fiction films. And especially when you look at the giant franchise of, you know, the superheroes and all that stuff, you know, Iron Man and all that, you know, we got this multi-universe, and so therefore characters can come back easily. So when they sacrifice themselves like Spock did to save everybody, there's no weight to it, because you know he's going to come back. You know there was no real risk, because they'd find a way to bring him back. And not that I was sad to see him come back, because obviously he's one of my favorite characters of Star Trek. So it was good to see him come back, but once again, it had no real meaning. And this seems to be a theme of late with a lot of science fiction films, that there's just, you know, I don't like seeing movies sacrifice main characters, but if you're going to do it, have some gravitas, you know, and keep it that way. So, yeah, this one was just kind of but once again, didn't mind seeing it. So, yeah, back to that. KB9 is okay.
Yeah, Sean, I remember quite vividly, because I think I had taped it and watched it a few dozen times. The Sisko and Ebert thing, when they reviewed this movie, they said, well, there aren't going to be any spoilers here, or whatever they called the equivalent of that. He says, it's called The Search for Spock. What, they don't find him? So, yeah, I agree with you. And a lot of gratuitous stuff. Okay, I'm beginning to really think that this group is leaning towards, Okay, next up is Bill, W5BLT. Bill always has something introspective and deep when it comes to films. So here we have one of these run-of-the-mill Star Trek movies. What do you think of the plot, Bill, from KE5ICX?
Thanks, Tom. I'm going to break the trend. I love this movie. And I'll tell you why. A couple of reasons. You know, maybe because when I was a kid sneaking around with Tom in, you know, the theater and, you know, Spock dying, you know, I don't think there was, except for me, I don't think there was a dry eye in the movie theater except for me. And then, you know, so that was emotional. So you wanted to see Spock come back. Having saw the first Star Trek movie, well, if I were to rank them in order, this one I think is still better than that one. Still better than that one. God, you know, got me to the starship. You know, I don't know. I kind of like the first half of the movie. You know, not to disagree, but you know, when they were getting out of space dock and they were so arrogant about the Excelsior. And, Kirk was always kind of upholding Starfleet, but also kind of cheating the system. And so when his son, David, did the same thing with the Genesis project, so there were similarities in kind of maybe cheat the system a little bit. And I think his son dying had a week for this baby Spock. But yeah, the whole Genesis thing and the baby coming to life on the planet, they had to figure out some way to do it. We accepted, I think, Star Wars in another series that just itself. So one of the things I think we talk about is science fiction. We sometimes do suspend reality in dark. Not necessarily believable. Do I have some problems with maybe the way they did it? Sure. With the whole maybe taking a frame from a boy perspective. It does kind of remind me of another Star Trek episode in the series where Roy had to operate his brain. So, it's not maybe the best one, but it's not the worst one. And I think still a fun one. And so I think the David sacrificing himself, kind of goes back into the dad always cheating death. So I don't know. So there's some things that I did like about it. So I try to look for the positive. Like I said, it's not the first one. It's not the fifth one. At least I feel.
All right, thank you, Bill. And Bill has bucked the trend. Okay, that's good, I think. Next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, what'd you think about the plot for Star Trek 3?
This is KG5BZW. So I did originally watch it again, and because I couldn't really remember it, and now that I've watched it again, well, now I know why I didn't remember it, because, as others have said, it's really just written to get. It just seems to be written to get to the end goal. I don't know. I remember appreciating it a little bit more as a kid. Later watching it and thinking, oh, that ain't that much good. I think this was the first Star Trek. I think I've mentioned that before. The first film I've seen. I think it's seen on TV. Just the concept of it, of the Genesis planet and everything, interesting, and how Spock was reborn or whatever. And as a kid, and it's interesting too. I know it isn't. Okay. I thought there was more to this film, and there just wasn't. Christopher Lloyd, he did it all big in the next few years with Back to the Future and whatnot, but pretty decent actor. But there was that place that him doing stuff where like, oh, I even realize John Larry. I'm talking the way into characters because I don't know what to talk about before. I'm sorry. Hey, gosh, I don't know. I don't think that the first one was nearly as bad as it. I mean, yeah, it's becoming your bureaucratic trope. Or the bureaucracy of whatever. It's just allowing us from doing what we need to do. So blah blah blah, and you know whatever. But I've seen that a lot of them. I don't. It is a trope. It's a statue piece, but I don't hate the trope. I don't know. It's progressive, Spock gets older. We had that last scene, which is kind of weird because it's kind of clear that they want it to be kind of something akin to the crew to be something akin to Paul Bearers with the body or something. It all the transport down there, but something Vulcan mysticism, something. And after all, I guess Dr. McCoy doesn't like transporters, so maybe they check down there, whatever. I don't know. I think they do avoid the trope of are you actually killed when you're transported and a copy is made, or are you transported? I'm just asking stuff that doesn't fill in here. I don't know. I don't know what to comment on the plot, because the plot is just there. And there's a lot of people here, so I think I'll just end on that. Katie, Bobby, Debbie.
All right, thanks, Jay. Next up, Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, your thoughts on plot for Star Trek 3?
B50ZL. Well, the thing about being toward the end is everything's been said, and I agree with people or not. It's hard to come up with something. I've been a Star Trek for a long time, Star Trek fan for a long, long time. It's always formulated. The ship and they, it's a OO. Steam. As it works, that people love and they kept you. With me, I enjoyed the movie. Story in this, I had this. Star Trek 4 was, it did lack some of the humor. On that comment. I saw it first run and I've been so distressed over Spock dying. I hadn't realized he was going to come back. Back to the dead. We live in a Star Trek world. I'm going to end it there. This is WB5OZL. Back to net.
All right, thank you, Brenda. You were cutting in and out there. You probably going to have to speak just a little bit louder thanks to the Vox. But we heard most of you. That was way better than last week when we couldn't hear any of you. So we lost about 25% of what you said. But we did hear the rest of it. Okay. We got so many people. I'm just going to go ahead and make my comments and we'll go to the top again. No, it's not my favorite film either. I mean, Star Trek 2 was so much better, and Star Trek 4 was so much better, and Star Trek 6 was so much better. But then we had the clunker 5 that came out, which I've maybe watched twice, maybe 3 times. I own the Laserdisc and the Blu-ray for that thing, and I never watched them because Star Trek 5 was not the best one. And Star Trek 3 probably comes in dead last of the viewable films. That one, I actually like the original motion picture better than Star Trek 3, but I'm kind of strange that way. I think that one was probably a better made film. Yes, I agree with what everybody said as far as the contrived plots. There was quite a bit of that. The thing is, though, is that we almost are conditioned to buy into that because the movies are very much like that. When you watch the original series concentrated on a story and characters with a setup and resolution at the end. This actually plays off like with the supervillain thing, which I always find distracting and not really good Star Trek in the end. And in fact, as somebody who's not a fan of, say, Discovery and not as much of a fan of the reboots, although they're not bad, but they all fall into the same category. Lots of supervillain, lots of explosions and everything else. I'm just not that. And the build-up and the contrived suspense and everything, I agree with Tony on that one as well. Well, I'm not going to belabor the point because, gosh, why? Okay, let's see, 11:18. We've got time. I'm going to go to the top. We'll talk about characterization, or acting. So we'll start with Tony, NT5TM. Tony, you know what it is. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. I honestly forgot I was really chagrined here listening to other people's plot summaries. I forgot just how much repetition and recapitulation existed at the beginning of this movie. So I apologize. I forgot to ding us for that. Like they all thought we were amnesiacs or didn't have VHS players or something. So other than apologizing for my forgetting to complain about all that repetition, I don't actually have much to say about the characters. They all did their stuff. I guess that's a round 3 thing. I'll save it for round 3. I'm sad that Kirstie Alley got deleted as Savick. I'm sad they killed off David because I thought the actor could have probably done more. But other than that, I thought everyone just did their normal job in the normal way, and yeah, I guess it's good that everyone showed up. NT5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. Next, Bill, N5BB. Bill, go.
Okay, this is N5BB. One final plot thing. How did they sit there for a few minutes and figure out how to fly the Klingon spacecraft and get it to full power? That didn't make any sense to me. I didn't understand how could they possibly do that in that short amount of time. Anyway, characterization. Well, like a lot of the movies we see, I don't think the characters were developed that much. I mean, we knew who most of these characters were from previous movies and things, but in this movie, did they really interact very much? Other than somebody talking to a Spock that's either dead or reanimated and not really cognizant? No. I mean, DeForest Kelly Bones didn't even complain about things, really. So they just didn't write very much dialogue where the characters could somehow get more interaction. They were all acting as at their formal place on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise, and they weren't very human. And that's, I think, just the way they wrote these series. That's just, it's science fiction series. We don't have to do that. It's not drama, or it's not some other kind of thing. And I think it loses it because of that. It makes it seem rather stale. I think this is one reason that people who aren't science fiction fans just don't like these movies, because there's not much that makes you kind of want to feel much for the characters. That they sit there and they do their things, they act their things, but why do we really like them, or why do we want them to survive? I don't know. Even getting grouped together to go and steal the Enterprise seemed to be kind of, okay. They kind of looked at each other and kind of shrugged their shoulders and said, well, okay. You would have thought there had been some more development there, some more interaction, some more human emotion, but there wasn't. And I think that's one of the things that makes this movie feel a bit, kind of stale to me.
Here's a program that I've been using for a while.
So anyway, I think most of this probably wasn't as much the actors as it was the writing, which I think was just, like I say, they had some things they wanted to do. They wanted to blow up the Enterprise. They wanted Spock's son to die. They wanted to find Spock and kind of bring him kind of back to life. And they moved backwards from that, and they just did whatever had to happen to make that happen. But, some of these long scenes where they did other things that didn't really progress the plot very much, I think they should have had more character development, more interaction. We can learn more about the people. On the Star Trek Second Generation TV movie, you learned a lot about the characters, but not on this movie. Oh well, Inside BB, thank you.
So true. Okay, Brian, KG2BAD, your thoughts on characterization for The Wrath of Khan? The Search for Spock.
Yeah, this is Brian, KJ5GNF. It's been many years since I saw the movie, but as you guys have been talking about it, it's reminded me of some of my impressions. And it almost seems like the characters were stereotypes of themselves, and I do think it comes back to writing, as the last person said. And because of that, I think the movie itself just lacked soul. It was almost imitating itself. I don't remember too much more about that, so I'll let others speak more about it. KJ5GNF, back to net.
All right, thank you, Brian. Okay, let's see here. I do have. Mess up. Let me do this. KG2BAD. Brian, did I get you?
No, we got two Brians back to back, and I think there might have been some confusion, but that's all right. I thought the characters were good. I always enjoyed the Star Trek characters, especially McCoy. And I think in this one, the way the character handles the having the mind of Spock also occupying his mind with McCoy at the same time was well done and fitting for the situation, and that's about the main thing that I remember from the movie. That is like, it's been so long since I've seen it, but that's the main thing that I take from it at this point that I can remember. So I like the characters as always, always good, and the actors always do a good job playing them. So that's really all I got. KG2B80.
All right, very good, and good points. Yeah, I got you two of you back to back like that. So I was wondering if maybe I just messed up, and I know what happened now, but I've got you both. Okay, next up is let's see. Ron says don't call on him. He'll be listening, but he doesn't want to be called upon. So we're going to go to Virginia, NV5F. Virginia, your thoughts on characterization and the acting for the search for Spock.
Okay, well, it was pretty standard Star Trek acting. I liken this to being like fan fiction where you saw Star Trek 2 and you were sad and you went home, and back then you'd get out your paper or your typewriter and write your version of how they get Spock to be back alive, and at the same time you make it a very kind of personal, therapeutic hangout session with your favorite Star Trek characters, all doing and saying your favorite things that they do and say. It's not unlike some of the stories I have written, so I'm not criticizing anybody. So that's kind of how I feel about how the characters were handled here. The plot was all sorted before they even started writing the story. So character is usually what drives plot, and if everything's kind of prescribed, it can be hard, I think, to make the characters interesting. I didn't mind the cast change for Savick. I know nobody throw anything at me, but I've never thought Kirstie Alley was that big of a deal. And she never seemed very quote-unquote Vulcan. Like, as a casting director, I probably would have, I don't know, maybe gone to someone with a different look. And it is weird to me even now to look back on these early to mid-'80s Vulcans and see Vulcans with big hair. I always felt like Vulcans, I guess based on the original series, I don't want to be stereotyping anybody, but I always felt like Vulcans always had those conservative, hairstyles with the, the bangs and all that. And I just, I always thought the big hair on Vulcans kind of bothered me. So that's not necessarily a character or acting thing, but I don't know. I just think that the female Vulcans could be a little more Vulcan, I guess. Let's see. William Shatner's pretty much William Shatner. Chekhov, Scotty doing their thing, doing their usual. Nichelle Nichols was trying to get all plucky and forceful in that one scene, which, speaking of forceful, that whole thing was a little forced and just cheesy, but, I did like the little bit of interplay between Dr. McCoy and, his internal Spock. I did think them using Leonard Nimoy's voice when he was off camera was a little bit weird, and I don't know. I don't think there's any grounds for that, except to remind people that Spock is inside of, his Katra is in Dr. McCoy, but Dr. McCoy would still speak in his own voice, so I thought that was a little weird. But my favorite line, I think, in the entire movie was when they figure out that Spock's Katra has been placed purposely in the Doctor, and he says, "Why that green-blooded son of a you-know-what." That's probably my favorite line in the whole movie. And I've always liked Dr. McCoy, and I like his humor, and I do like the way he and Spock express their friendship for one another. It's pretty funny. So yeah, and then at the end it's kind of heartfelt, and that went pretty well as far as acting, and them Spock is back and almost on the verge of being a little sappy, but I think it was generally everybody, including I'm sure everyone in the audience, was super jazzed to see Spock again, and it sets up for an interesting version of Spock in the next movie. So anyway, I'll end there. NV5S.
All right, thank you, Virginia. Good comments. Next up is KF5PLL, Huey. I'm getting a little slap happy. I don't remember if you want to go ahead and continue to talk or not. If you do, and I think you might, your thoughts on characterization for the film from KE5ICX. All right, I'm going to drop him out. I couldn't remember. I didn't write any notes, so I couldn't recall. Okay, Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your thoughts on characterization from KE5ICX.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I think everybody's already said it, that, obviously these are characters that have already been well developed. Obviously the actors did a good job playing themselves. Their own characters they didn't play for a long time. But yeah, I do agree the writing could have been a little stronger in this one. I agree with Bill that there could have been a little more dialogue between each other. Especially they spent the first half of the movie really just doing filler. They could have made that turn more into more of a true development. But yeah, all in all, the characters are what we expected. Yeah, I think McCoy, I agree. He's always been, one of the kind of the almost comic relief. It was kind of fun seeing him struggle a little bit there, and I agree that, Spock's voice coming out of him didn't make any sense. I agree. I found that kind of weird myself as well. So that was a good call out on that. I don't think that was necessarily needed. And as I've already said, it was kind of to kill off Kirk's son. There really was no need for that. So yeah, obviously our villain was, of course, bad. As you already alluded to, Tom, that in these movies they always think that they gotta have the ultimate horrible bad guy to go after. 99% of the time in science fiction. And this was just, once again, it was almost like they just needed additional something to have just to, give them somebody to fight against for a short period of time. Once again, this whole thing was just kind of a stepping stone to the next film. So, yeah, it was interesting. Just to see what they were trying to do, but definitely could have been better. So yeah, that's about all I got. Come back to that, KB9SOK.
All right, thank you, Sean. Next up is Bill, W5BLT. Bill, your thoughts on characterization from KE5I6.
Okay, and also just to add here, my daughter was just correcting me. David said Savick, and that's where being blind, I got lost on that part. So I want to make that correction. I like the characters. Yes, it was kind of sad to see David get killed by the Klingons, but that's what Klingons do. were all standard characters to me. I did like the interplay. Somebody said, with McCoy having kind of Spock, and he goes in and gets a different drink at the bar. Also saying, quotes that you would hear out of Spock's mouth. So that was kind of interesting to me. My favorite character, though, in this whole lot, and I know everybody doesn't like the supervillain, but I really like the Klingon captain. And I thought the guy that played him did the whole Klingon thing well. And so I like that. And then I'll throw out this. I don't know if I'll go to the third round, but when I was coming out of anesthesia in the hospital from a stomach surgery, not only was I quoting that I was not a number, but I'm a free man, I'm a prisoner, and getting upset with the Alderaan being destroyed, but I also quoted the line that Kirk used about the Klingons when they killed his son. And I don't even have a son. But I was quite mad at the doctor to let him know that I was not happy that they killed my son. He used the whole line there, which I won't say on the air. But anyway, had a little trouble with the anesthesia. But I don't know. I like this movie probably a little better than everybody, but maybe that's also fun. It's just growing up as a kid watching. W5BLT.
The Eternal Optimist. Okay, thanks, Bill. KG5BZWJ, your thoughts on characterization?
Gotta wait for echoing to slow down. Yeah, this is KG5BZW. Well, yeah, I thought Christopher Wake did a decent job with what he had. Yeah, now that I'm going on characters, I feel like I'm going to go back to the storyline because we have the tender cast. We've I can't agree with replacing Christy Alley as Tara. But it wasn't. It's not like that. I did rewatch Star Trek 2 when we were discussing that. I saw it and knew enough. And I'd seen it a number of times more than those ones. I thought I knew more, but I did. I'm keeping straight. Really, yeah, it is like a Star Trek episode. I'm trying to figure out something new to really say. I was surprised to see John Larroquette in this as well as one of the Vulcans. I'm wondering who else I have missed. Not Vulcans. I called him a Vulcan. I missed. Oh my gosh. Now I'm straight from it's for some reason I can only think of Vulcans and Romulans right now. It's neither of those. But anyway, yeah. And the character Worf, which is not the name of the aliens, but anyway. And even in the film, but gosh. So what else to say? We've got a homunculus that is, or whatever you want to call it, the body of Spock without the soul, which I don't know. I would still say has a soul. The way it's like, how could they even depict this character without a soul? And it's still, kind of some extent. You think a body without a soul wouldn't even necessarily, experience the pain or anything of all the stuff that was supposed to be happening, but they, I think that one of the things I was going to say is that I was kind of hoping that they had got more of Spock's history into it, but you do have the Farlots, whatever the heck that was, the adolescence or whatever. There's every 7 years thing is particular. I know it's a particular episode of Star Trek that kind of brought in. That was not terrible. Other than that, yeah, so Sulu being Sulu, you had the engineer being the engineer. I forget why. I don't know why I'm forgetting his name. Chekhov being Chekhov. McCoy, probably had the best part just because we play two people in one, basically. And then, of course, you have Williams. Jim, excuse me, not the actor, the character, Jim, being Jim. It was pretty standard fare, which I know I've already has it said, but I'm just going to re-echo it. So yeah, McCoy and I'm having trouble remember the name of their guy. Bird of Prey. It's just not. This is not popping in. So sorry. That was weird. I said I was going to head to the next person, and then it just ended. This is, but I am handing it to the next person. KG5.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Next up is Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, go ahead. You may have to speak up a little bit because we lost you a little bit, so shout into the microphone is all I can recommend tonight. Please go ahead from KE5I6.
Okay, I'll do my best. Well, the characters are the characters. They're pretty standard throughout all the series. We love them, and they figured out the formula of all their little quirks and their relationships with each other, and we love it so much. Okay. I really wasn't too keen on the young Spock's development. I was really uncomfortable with the child having Ponfar and ritual with Vulcan around. Thank goodness there was a Vulcan there. But if they were to follow up on that, it would be a little interesting. I also am not comfortable with the idea of if somebody dies, we just shoot his dead body off into space, and who knows where it might end up. It might land on a inhabited planet in somebody's park, and just choose his dead body for somebody to stumble over and maybe give diseases to everybody on that planet, or kill off all the plants or life forms or something. I think they need to come up with better burial plans than that. I know it comes from the old ships, but people decay in the water just like they do in the. But in space, kind of drift forever and be space debris. That is not how I want to end up, believe me. My ashes on the moon, that'd be okay. Don't just shoot me off for ever and ever and ever. At least they should put a plaque on it describing who it was and what they did and where they came from, so that whenever somebody would find them someday, they'd know something about them. Okay, that's all I got. Good. Back to the net. This is WB5OZL.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Brenda. Comments from me. Boy, I don't have a lot. I'm starting to fade a little bit, but let's see here. Fluffy was good. I like Fluffy the lizard dog. That Krug's dog was quite nice. Good guy. Very likable. You know what? I don't have much to say beyond what everybody else has said already. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. We got a lot of people checked in. So this final round, which is going to be 12 minutes long, I will go ahead and take call signs. If you got something you want to say about, I don't know, the special effects or anything along those lines, or the music or anything like that, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to give your call sign now. That way then we can get it done by midnight. So if I shut up and take call-ins, I am getting tired. I really am starting to fade. Take call signs. I'll take you in the order that I get the call signs. So if you got something to say on this final round, come with your call now.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo.
November 5, Sierra Quebec Alpha.
India 5, Quebec Echo.
Kilo Juliet 5, Golf November Foxtrot.
Okay, that's not too bad, and I'm going to acknowledge AI5QE. That's Robert, and I will get to you your number 5 in line. So, sorry, I should have asked for echoing check-ins later on. That's my fault. So that's on me. We'll start with Bill, N5BB. Go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. This is N5BB. I think the music was okay. The special effects. So I know a lot of people focused on, the Enterprise and the other space ships and blowing them up in space and all that kind of stuff. I think that was okay. Didn't bother me, the quality of it. I read, I think on Wikipedia, that the special effects guy wanted to take a hammer to the Enterprise to take it apart, but of course they'd spent $150,000 over time on that model. They weren't going to do that. But that didn't bother me. But what did bother me was, now I know this is 40 years ago, 4 decades ago, but it was 1984, it wasn't 1964, and when they had some kind of display or handheld thing with something being displayed on it, the quality of that, the little minimal graphics or other things were horrible. It just did not look like anything in the future. It barely looked like 1984. So I think they could have put some more effort into that. To me, a movie like 2001, those kind of things, they either purposely didn't show certain things, or they made them in such a way they looked like they were futuristic. But in this movie made in 1984, they did a poor job on some of those props. That's my personal belief. That's all I got. Thank you. It's IBB.
Okie dokie, thank
Thank you, Tom. I'm glad you're still awake. I know it's really hard. I want to agree with Bill right there. Yeah, those computer graphics look like they were done on an Atari 800. I mean, it was really poor. The computer animations in Star Trek: The Motion Picture or in 2001 were better because they were fake. Computers in those days just couldn't measure up.
Oh.
Although, on the other hand, for a lot of the exteriors, I was totally bemused by Wikipedia. I read about them compositing lots and lots of shots, and we mixed this with this exposure and that with the other exposure with a final beauty shot. Man, I really wish I got to be like a fly on the wall for the effects team and just learning how they composited all these things together to produce some of these wonderful exteriors. Although, of course, I do have to insult the gratuitous use of diesel fuel. It's amazing how everything in the world, in the entire universe that catches on fire, looks like burning diesel fuel. I'm just so tired of that. Oh, look, more diesel fuel coming from that crack on the earth. Oh, look, a giant volcano. It's so funny. It's erupting with diesel fuel. How keep happening? Aren't there any other flammable petrochemicals in the world? And last and least, radio is the perfect hobby for me because I forget what people look like. I have people in my department at work who I don't know who they are until they speak, and more than one of them. I recognize people mainly by their voices, which is why radio is such a wonderful hobby for me. That's also why it was so unfortunate that I just couldn't believe, no matter how much Klingon makeup they put on Doc Brown, he was still Doc Brown. It's like, who stuck that on your face? I still know who you are, because you sound like Doc Brown. You can't disguise people's voices that easily, and unfortunately, that's almost the entire way I recognize people. NT5TM.
Oh, Tony, I couldn't agree with you more. Yes, Doc Brown. I felt the same way. KB9SOK. That would be Sean. Sean, go.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Doc Brown will always be Doc Brown to me, no matter what movie he's in, because that's, what I always see. That's funny. Yeah, I agree. The music was just okay. I think they just rehashed the music from the second one and just kind of tweaked it a bit. Don't think they made a whole lot of effort, to be honest. The graphics on the computer were kind of unforgettable, or were forgettable, weren't the best. The movie, I noticed when I was watching it, some of the outside scenes of the ship looked really good, but then there was other scenes when they were showing motion that it didn't. It seemed like there was a contrast in the quality, but you can tell the scenes they really put the work into, because they still look good today, even 40 years later. And some of them are very obvious that they were done 40 years ago. So it's kind of a mixture for me on that part of it with the effects. Some areas were a little disappointing. And another kind of somewhat related, I recently bought the 4K version of these films, and just to kind of warn everybody, don't waste your money. They didn't go through the time to truly upgrade them. They look just like the Blu-rays, no different at all. Looks like maybe they just used some generic upscaling, and it looks no better. So very disappointed in the 4Ks. Really didn't look any better. Anyway, that's all I got. Back to that. KB9SOK. Looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Sean. And your last comment is going to save me a ton of cash. Next up, N5SQA. That would be Ron. Ron, what do you have for us?
Hey, Tom, I have two thank yous. Thank you for not calling on me during the course of this thing, And a second thank you to you for running this thing every week. Appreciate it. N5SQA.
Well, thank you, Ron. That's nice of you to say. And I'm fading fast, so I'm not sure how effective I am. Next up is AI5QE. That's Robert. Robert, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to call on you, and I saw you in the list, and then you checked in on this round. I was very bad. I should have seen you and called you out and let you check in. But now, whatever you like to say, go right ahead from KE5ICX. We may have fallen asleep. I'll call on him again in a minute. KJ5QNF. That would be Brian. Go ahead.
I wasn't sure if the other Brian was going to answer that or not, because call sign was a little off. This is KJ5GNF, and I just wanted to thank everyone for all of the great commentary tonight, and to thank Net Control for running this. This was my first experience with an Afterglow, and I wasn't quite sure what to expect with the format, and I really enjoyed it. So hopefully next time I join you, I will have seen the movie, and I'll have something a little deeper to contribute. But I really enjoyed tonight. KJ5, good night, folks.
Well, very good. Thank you, Brian. Thanks for your comments. And yes, I don't know why I did that, because I was trying to chat with Robert, and he's AI5QE, and as I was sent the note back, I screwed up your call sign along the way and made it QNF because there was a Q in his call, and then I said it out loud, so that's what happened. Well, let me go back over to Robert, AI5QE. Robert, you may have to let it settle down a little bit, because you can't transmit until all the noise goes away, which includes the bubble up on the repeater of the confirmation tone. So I'll give you extra time for it to settle down, and then go ahead and hit transmit as soon as the view meter goes quiet. So AI5QE. Robert, go ahead.
Yay, I got through. I've been listening all night and really enjoying it. Seen the movie many times. And just for fun tonight, while listening to the commentary, I actually watched the movie. I was watching the movie with the sound down or off, and really thought there was some wonderful commentary. I like the movie, but I'm a sucker for movies like that. And but anyway, I just went way away from Dallas as I am tonight. I enjoy coming in through Echo Link. So thank you very much for running it. Thank you for all the great comments. That's AI5QE, and back to Net.
Well, thank you also for your comments. I appreciate it, and I enjoy doing the net, and I'm really happy with the participation we get. We have some really good discussions. Some movies that we initially panned, we turned out to be pretty darn good, and some that we thought were good didn't quite live up to snuff. So, at any rate, okay. Well, I've got nothing to say. Soundtrack usually is what I go for. This was a rehash of James Horner doing James Horner with more James Horner. And while I like what he did with Star Trek II, he just basically just rehashed Star Trek II in Star Trek III. I've never even bought the Star Trek III album because there was no reason. It was all done in Star Trek II. So that's all I'll say to that. Next week's movie is listed as The Last Woman on Earth from 1960, a Roger Corman film. I'm going to double check it and see. I think that's a pretty good film. We may have seen it before. If it is, I may substitute something else. I'm not sure. At any rate, all of this will happen again next week. Same bat time, same bat station, and we'll meet again then. So I'll say 7-3 to everybody. Thank you all. It was a really good discussion. We had great turnout this evening, this late at night, and most appreciated. So we'll see you all again next week. This is KE5 ICX, now clear.